Hello, thank you. It is 7 o'clock and the advisory meeting is now in order. And we are meeting with Donna Madden, our treasurer, Don Lowe, our town administrator, and then we will be interviewing a Ken Troop. A Ken Troop.
Maybe the
For the advisory committee. The Ken Troop is what I should say. All right, so, Johnny, you want to get us going?
Sure. Got a number of budgets to go over. Start with my treasurer collector, HR director budget 145. On the salary side, both myself and the assistant treasurer collector have a step. For the wages, longevity, you'll see, and I had mentioned this to Brad, previously we broke out longevity in each department. Even though I control it because I keep tabs of who gets it, but a lot of people, there were changes, we were having to come back to you for more money. So we figure it's easier if I have a whole pool of money. So that way, if we need it, it'll be at the very end of the year rather than by department. So we thought that would be more efficient. So we moved the entire, all employees, that 7,700 is for all employees. So I think
That makes it easier.
yeah, I think we'll see it, because I'm the one that signs off on it when it goes into the payroll. And that way, if we do need any kind of transfer, it'll be at the very end of the year, which hopefully we won't need to. Software support is for our radar system, and Harper's my payroll company.
Did salary go down? No, it went up, I'm sorry. It went
Well,
up.
my assistant, it looks like it's down because of one day,
Okay.
and then that's the difference. Because she's at the top of her stuff. Postage level funded, tax taking, we usually just keep 500, though unfortunately this year, I'm doing takings in the next couple weeks. I have actually more takings than I've had in probably the last 6 years. And that's just for the town's protection. So they'll go from 14% interest to 16% interest, and it protects the town. Office supplies, so in years when I have a lot of takings, I have to roll into my office supplies and roll everything we need forward to July. This year I'll have to do that. Bank charges cover all our debt, continuing disclosure, the ban that I do every June, my Veribank, my paying agent, it's mainly debt stuff that's covered in there. Educational assistance, we seem to have a discussion every year on it. Years ago, it started at 5,000, it's gone down. I do have someone who's using the 800 that's in the FY16 budget, so never a big demand though, so I think we should probably leave it at that. In-state travel is for my meetings and conferences. Dues is for the Mass Collectors and Treasurers, the Worcester County, and the Mass Municipal Personnel Association. Meetings, both myself and I'll go to school in August. I have a Cape conference and then other meetings.
But gonna be, well, it wasn't much more in 2015. What, 100 and...
Yeah, overall, my budget, I did have to ask for an $800 increase because of the Affordable Care Act costs. Harper's is working with me on that, but there is an additional cost to do that. And that was the increase that I had in my budget.
Okay, so
So
that's
any
good.
questions on 135?
So yeah, on the bank charges, I noticed there were 0 in December, and I think you said in June is when all the costs come due in that, or?
I'm heavy towards the end of my budget year, May and June, because of the ban, my continuing disclosure. The work is done, it gets printed in March, and they bill me in April and May for it, so.
And the meetings you said you do in August, so that makes sense if it's already all used up.
Well, we have school in August, I have a conference in June, and then I have other meetings, Personnel Association. Worcester County meetings. But yeah, my budget on the whole is heavy towards April, May, and June.
So do I have a motion to approve the 145?
Sure, I'll move that.
And I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So it passes unanimously.
Any opposed?
Any opposed? Obviously, it's unanimous.
Right, I know.
No opposition. Okay.
9/11,
It's on page 12, I think.
that is the
Employee benefits.
employee benefits. Which one is that, Connie? I'm sorry.
That's the Worcester.
Oh, the Worcester Regional.
Yeah.
No surprises this year, 8% increase because of our unfunded liability. We have our portion to pay, unfortunately, for the next 17 years. Other than that, if we don't have any major payroll changes, we can expect about 8% increase each year in our assessment. Just so you'll know, this year, the $339,612, $247,438 of that is our unfunded pension liability. Only $83,284 is our actual employee cost that we have now. So it's a heavy burden, but the legislature has given all retirement systems to 2040 to pay that liability, but we're on schedule 2035 in Worcester to pay it off. Any questions?
How does, we'll talk about that when we get to it later.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
9/13.
Unemployment.
Unemployment. We, years ago, I think we dropped it down to $5.
I think we have it at
Placeholder at 10. Basically, we're on a claims basis. So as claims come in, I respond to them, I fight them. We haven't had anything in a while, a couple of years. There's just been some minor stuff. We don't have many claims anyways. Occasionally there'll be an on-call firefighter who has another job and we get hit as a secondary or something like that. So
we just leave it at.
so, yeah, I would leave it at that, and then I come to you if we get
Okay.
hit with any costs.
And then now we're at 914, health insurance.
Health insurance, good news, good news. We are a member of the Minuteman Health Group. That's a joint purchase group of 18 towns and school districts in the area. We're self-insured. We offer Fallon, Tufts, and Harvard to our employees. The great news is Fallon is coming in at a 0 increase this year, and we have about 92% of our employees in the Fallon plans. So because of that, I am level funding the health insurance this year.
Nice.
So we were able to, originally I put in a 10% increase, just because I never know when I have to give you the number. So I think that's really good news, that we're able to level fund that.
Why was the actual for 2015 so low?
We have a lot of people who are on and off, and it's kind of a swinging target at best. But that covers our active employees, our retirees, the Part B we provide. It covers our wellness program that we offer. So it's good that we're able to do all that and level fund for a year.
And 915, life insurance.
I think that also is level funded. That money has been more than enough. I think it's been years since we've actually increased that. The town pays 50% of the coverage.
I mean, can we lower it to 1,000? We have it at 1,500, and it's, that might be low.
The last,
That might be low.
what was last year's?
Last year was
12.10.
12. Could,
So-
I mean, if you wanted to, you could go 13.
13.
You know,
I don't really see a point when I look at it again.
yeah,
$200. Okay, any questions?
916 also Medicare,
Oh.
it should be.
Oh, you don't have that. Oh, yeah, I do.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We increased a little bit, again, Medicare is 1.45% of all wages. It's a little hard to know what exactly our overtime costs are gonna be and costs, so we try to up it a little to cover it and without going too high.
So not to sound an alarm or anything, but back to the retirement stuff. You
Mhm.
said 8% a year, and we're expecting this to continue until 2035.
Mhm.
So by 2035, that would be a sizable chunk of our town's budget.
That's right. That's why we're gonna have the discussion about OPEB.
Okay.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that doesn't change.
No,
Sure,
this,
yeah, no, right, I'm
it's,
not saying.
Yeah,
it's an
and
unfunded
unfortunately,
line.
they're two separate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That we both have to pay. We pay. We have to pay both.
We have to pay
We have to pay both.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Sorry. No.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve lines 911, 913, 914, 915, and 916, and if you need me to title them, I will. Otherwise,
I'll move that.
I'll
Thank
second
you.
it.
One question. On 914, one component of that is OPEB. Are we voting on that also?
we'll have a discussion later about OPEB. I don't,
Because we talked about the group health component, but
Right, you might
there's a
want to
second component.
do it, everything but the OPEB until you have the discussion.
yeah,
Let's do
that's
that.
true. Let's hold off on 914 until we have, which
I think it's now.
shortly,
Yeah, it's
right
right
now.
now. I think it's now.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
And I'll bring my friends on up and.
I
can stay here. Oh, all right. Oh, sure, yeah. We'll get it is done.
So we have a motion that's,
So let's,
we got a motion that's made and seconded.
Yeah, let's
We
make,
got it.
let's,
amend it.
with the
Well-
removal of 914 for
So,
the time
It's a
being.
new
So,
motion.
new motion would be 911, approve 911, 913, 915, and 916.
I'll second it.
I'll do that.
Okay, you move that, Craig, and I'll second it.
Sounds good.
okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Okay. All right, let's move to OPEB. Okay.
You wanna talk with Milliman?
Sure. So we just had, we just finished this report. It's valued June 30th, 2015. So we contract with this company, an actuarial company, to run all these actuarial numbers for our for expected contribution to our unfunded liability. I didn't bring the whole report because it's,
Very actuarial.
yeah.
I read a letter from theirs.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Okay.
intense, yeah.
Yeah, this is really, I mean, this is the crux of what you need to know, is what we need to pay to keep whittling down our unfunded liability, which I recommend we do.
Our ARC did decrease because of the funding, a whole
Not a
couple
lot,
$1,000.
but didn't go up.
But it's our first funding, so.
So last year we funded to the ARC, which was
It was
$186,000.
186?
6,540.
186,540.
So the ARC this year, this time around is 184,058, so down a little bit, but
Didn't go up.
didn't go up, no. So we could fund to the ARC, and it's basically level funded, you know, come down about $2,000.
Especially with health insurance being good, I think it's,
And when are we, the calculation to have this one paid?
Let's see.
Is it like 2036 or something like that?
I don't know when,
I can't
if
remember.
OPEB has a drop dead
it
date.
doesn't seem to have any.
I don't think they do. The legislature was the one years ago that went back for the pension and said, originally it was 2025, then they extended it out to 2040. Nothing's been done because there are communities that haven't done a thing.
Nothing, I know, they were
And,
funded.
you know, there are, you know, I mean, our, in relationship, our liability, our outstanding, the 844 million is low compared to, everyone's like, I wish I had your number. You know, I think, you know, the Harvard, well, our school district alone, I think is 54 million. Harvard, I think, is 29 or 36 million. So, I mean, those are just unbelievable numbers. So even though budget-wise, it's a big number, it's better than others.
So what other ways besides free cash can we fund something like this?
Well,
Raise and appropriate.
some towns do their sales and hotel tax. You know, some have done. I'm trying to think.
There are very few local taxes that we have.
Yeah, we don't have much of that,
So
but
we don't have
certainly
any other
some.
than maybe.
There's one town in the area that sold their rights to their cell tower.
Right, some do
Took the
solar.
proceeds from that.
Yeah.
Some have done solar farms, and all the proceeds to those have gone.
Right, we've talked
We're on the
about
way to
that.
that.
Unfortunately, there's some
Yes.
new ones potentially coming online where there's some issues at the State House on
Yes.
net metering credits, so we have to hold off on
Yeah.
that. You know, I think if a number of years ago, we brought forward the restaurant and alcohol tax, increase in the sales tax, and that might be something we might want to bring back, because in looking at, on the internet, back in, at least from 2013, at least half, if not more than half of the cities and towns in the Commonwealth have done that. So
Yeah.
it's not a, you know, an aberration if we do that. It's not gonna yield much, but, you know, every dollar helps, but
Right.
if you channel those sources to fund that, then that's, yeah, that helps, you know.
I read that, I printed it off and now I don't know where it is. I thought it was right here, but I pulled it to read it. Something that Wellesley was doing, they were investing, they could invest, you have to read it because.
Well,
it's-
they're
the
fully
main-
funded.
I know.
They're like off the
Because
charts.
they were able to use some term which made it easier for them to invest more money and it goes towards paying this without it actually,
Where did you see the article?
it was online.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can reach out to Mark Waldman, the treasurer there.
And ask him because
Yeah.
they were investing money that they were able to use because it's a certain stipulation just for OPEB. And it was pretty interesting, of course, you guys would understand it a whole lot more than I would, but it was something I had printed
Yeah,
off to
I'll
give
take a
to
look
you
at
and I don't know what, I know with it.
But yeah, they've been fully funded, I think, for a couple of years.
Yeah, and that might be why. I
might be
don't
why.
know.
Oh, they have a pretty
Robust.
Oh,
robust
very,
tax
very,
base.
very.
They do.
Uh,
They do.
So the bottom line is, our recommendation is that we continue to fund to the ARC as it's represented here.
And not more.
Not this year, I wouldn't recommend that we recommend, I wouldn't say that we would recommend more, but we should maintain the plan that we have.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
I
Better
think
than
so,
ad
too.
hoc, isn't it?
So, a minute ago you talked about it, the ARC going down, actually, ARC going down only a couple of $1,000s. So I don't know what a couple is, but if I did my math right, and 2 is assumed to be the number, that means that our ARC goes down to 0 in 90 years. I mean, I'm sure.
I won't be here, so I can't tell you that.
I'm sure.
I don't plan to be here.
As time goes on.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that. I think as we invest, I think it'll greater,
Hopefully.
it'll reduce
Grow.
the amount by a greater amount, I hope.
Tom doesn't have any blood left in his fingers.
I just have a question, because this is being driven by an accounting rule, right? That is not in effect, that right now it's a suggestion, not a mandate, right?
Well,
You have to report it on your balance sheet.
you have to report it on your balance sheet as of 2018. So certainly, anyone who's looking at, purchasing the town of Bolton's debt, is gonna see that, and it's a big effect.
And is there any doubt that at that point it's gonna be mandated that this start being, like George King at the Tri-Town in Stowe said, instead of pay by the time you die, it's pay by the time you retire. That's the difference. It accelerates the obligation. And I was reading online myself, and it's not a certainty. Right now, the rule is a suggestion.
Well, I think it's more than a suggestion right
Okay.
now, where it's going on your balance sheet. I think a few years ago, it was a suggestion. I think as soon as they made the mandate that 2018, it's on your balance
I think
sheet,
they're headed
I think
in that
that's more than a
direction.
suggestion.
Right, because that affects interest rates for
Yeah.
which we
Oh,
can
yeah.
borrow, so.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So-
that's mandated by the legislature, or?
No,
Well, it's GASB 45.
so,
So it's an accounting rule?
But it's, yeah, I can get you the exact
yeah,
info.
but it's not the legislature, unlike our
Okay.
pension.
So in a sense then there's, it's not legally, I mean, it looks like it's looming that way and headed that way, but right now it's not a
Obligated to
statute.
fund? No, we're not legally
No.
obligated.
No,
No, it's accurate to say it's not a mandate yet.
But it is a liability that's hanging out there, and that
We'll have to be
the goal
funded
is to
at some
start
point.
funding it and start
Maybe it's
investing it to actually get some
They look for
returns
that,
to
right?
reduce
oh, yeah,
that
definitely.
going forward.
And right now then, so the money's held in an account?
Yes,
I see.
and it's invested, it's invested different than all the other money we have. It's
And then when
long-term.
you, if.
It's 20, 30-year money. It's not,
Okay, and then at a certain point, that will be spinning off the healthcare obligation.
right, actually, I mean, technically by law now, you could use some of the money to pay for your retiree costs. We wouldn't do that because we're just starting to
Right.
fund, but
Okay.
legally you can use that money for that purpose.
And this is for retirees and future retirees.
Yeah.
Yes,
Everybody's.
for health and life insurance costs.
Mhm.
And no pension.
No
Right.
pension.
And just one more question, I'm sorry, so,
Sure.
and what was the, estimated rate of return that got them to this number, do you know off the top of your head?
No.
No.
Couldn't find that online. You know,
I,
astounding.
are they using,
They
I'm not
have a
sure,
whole
6, 7, I'm not sure
bunch of
exactly what.
different, I can give you the report.
Yeah, if you can't sleep at night, Tom.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure that's a problem.
Some light reading.
Yeah, a couple of things. Someone raised the issue of getting this down to zero. If you're an ongoing entity, perpetual, I don't think you ever get it down to zero.
No.
You're not even trying to do that, so please don't raise the rate that you pay this off to try to get it down to zero. Second, just because it goes on the balance sheet, I don't think it's mandatory that you have to start paying. It's true that you've got some risk to your credit rating if you have a bigger deficit on your balance sheet than someone else does. But the incremental rate differences that one pays on if we're a single A1 instead of a double A3 is minuscule. Maybe 0.1% a year. So if there are, if the town's gonna have to have an override or something to do this, it might be better to accept the 0.1% higher interest rate costs. So I don't think we should get too exercised about the fact that it goes on the balance sheet. And then on a less favorable note from the point of view of those who would like to keep the taxes lower, the rate that they assume on all these things is probably too high because they go back in historical kinds of things, and I think the likelihood that we'll get back to the kind of rates that prevailed 10 years ago is pretty small, at least any time in the foreseeable future. And that's one of the reasons the pension payment keeps going up so much, is because it assumes something like a 7.5% rate of return on this money. And long-term treasury bonds yield 2.5% now. So
that would work the opposite, right? As the rates fall, they're gonna ask the cities and towns to increase more.
yes, exactly.
Cash payment.
Yeah, exactly.
So we wouldn't want to question what's there now.
No, but I'm just trying to explain why it keeps going up every year, because they do gradually bring that rate down over time. And also, since we're not earning what they assume we're earning, we have to pay what they haven't earned because they were assuming too high an amount, so we get hit both ways.
Right.
So they're discounted then?
It is discounted. I disagree with some of what the previous speaker said. I think that should we issue debt or not, Moody's does periodically review all the municipalities that they rate. And they look at your stabilization, they look at your free cash, they look at your OPEB, they look at your management structure, your financial structure.
It's fiscally responsible.
And, you know, we're not on the strong side on any of those if we don't move forward. You know, our stabilization, we don't do anything to it. Our free cash is low. If we don't continue to fund, at least I think to the ARC, I think that we're, you know, we're not being financially responsible to where we should be looking.
I agree.
Right, and I'm part of the town's finance committee, and we've met a number of times on this issue, and we have pretty much unanimously agreed that we should be at the very least funding it to the ARC each year.
I think it was a very positive step when it got brought into the budget. A lot of communities do it as an article each year. So I think that was a positive step. I think you all made a commitment by doing that, by including it, you know, in the budget.
Should we move it?
Any more questions?
No, I would move that we fund to the ARC.
Do I have
I'll
a
second that.
All in favor? Say aye.
I think you need to vote of the entire 950.
Yeah, let's.
Oh,
okay, let's do that.
You're right, you're right.
Right. Do I have a motion to approve line 914?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? It passes. Great, thank you, Becky.
Yeah, nice seeing you all. Next.
Don't feel like you have to rush out.
No, that's okay. You got a big enough audience.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Oh, I always do.
Good night.
All right.
And, Steve, the town administrator. Hey, Mr. Lowe.
Very good. We're gonna start with 122.
Sounds good.
Okay, well,
Page 4.
salary remains the same for the Board of Selectmen. Purchase of services at $10,000. We are actually, according to the July ledger, which you have there, we spent, I'm sorry, January, I keep doing that. I wanted to be golf season, I guess. We, that shows that we spent $5,347, or running at 53%. We've actually spent more than that if you look at February. So we've spent an additional $1,596. So we're down to about $3,000. If I did that quickly in my head. So so that is running at the proper rate. Advertising, we are at $500. We've done very little with it, and we've done very little with it for a while. So I would recommend that we lower the 500 to 250. We need somebody in there. We do advertise open positions and occasionally advertise other things. So I think if we cut that in half, I think we're good.
So line 5342.
Yes. Supplies, 150, I would recommend keeping it there. Dues, 2,047, we actually went $6 over. Not sure how we did that. So we actually spent year-to-date, and we're done spending in that 2,053.24. So if we, I don't know.
It was just the amount that we
It just
estimated, the
happened.
membership was $6 more.
So I'm not necessarily suggesting we change it. I'm just making a note that, you know, we went $6 over, and we'll certainly make that up. And then meetings, $100 for the selectmen. And the final thing is wheat, and in February, we did get the request for payment for wheat. So when you see the February ledger, that'll be zeroed out. So that's a good number. They've not asked for an increase.
So what does wheat buy us? I'm just not familiar with that. I know what it is.
Well, it's access to the services. If we don't pay it, then we're no longer a
I kind of
member.
figured that's what it was. What kind of services get purchased with the services line?
Oh, through the purchase of services, in the past year, the big ticket items were, we spent, the biggest ticket items were to repair the lights at Water Aquatic. We had the light was sagging because the pole that it was on, still is on the property of the house at the corner, was listing, so we had to bring an electrician in to do that and get the equipment to run it to another location and have a detail for that and so forth. So that was a big ticket item. Also, when we went through the transition of the previous town accountant leaving and getting Ninotchka up to speed, there was some training that needed to be provided, so there was a service that I purchased through that. Those were the two big ticket items. A smaller one would be the jailbreak signs. That wasn't a planned expense, but certainly it was one that, it was money well spent, so.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, those are the big ones.
So 123 town administrator.
123 town administrator. Let's see. Salary, hearing officer wages, longevity. I don't qualify for longevity, but Linda does. Everything is pretty much straightforward until we get down to the training and whatnot. Training, I should be going in next fiscal year for my recertification for my chief procurement officer status. You have to get recertified every 3 years. Supplies, that is something that we have not been running to what we've had budgeted here. So I would recommend we cut that from $1,000 to $500. In-state travel is running right, so are dues, and so are meetings. So a couple examples of what we did spend for the training, for example. This year, not sure if I'm going to get to any more training or not, but I did have to go to training to get familiarized with the latest updates in the fire safety code. And we sent a new member of a committee off to training. So again, I would say things are running correctly there, but we could reduce supplies from $1,000 to $500.
Okay.
Legal services, always one of my favorites. We are running, depending on your perspective, we're running well if you look at it from the perspective of running to budget. I would like it if we didn't have to spend so much money on legal services, but that's a little bit out of my control. But I think $40,000 is the correct number. I would not ask for an increase or a decrease. Again, I've had more bills come in February, and to the tune of another $6,000. So that balance right now is just a little over $18,000. So I think that's a good number. For town hall, 192. I would recommend that the purchase of services line in that budget be zeroed out. I don't think we need to carry that obligation in there.
So we'll
So we would
remove
take it
that
from
line.
550 to zero. You know, we wouldn't remove the line, just zero it out, so we're gonna need to maintain the line for historical purposes for a while, but
Because customarily, we leave a dollar amount.
we could, okay, we could certainly do, you're right. You keep a nominal amount in there.
Right, and that's 5,400 supply.
Yeah.
No,
No,
it's
I
not.
mean, no,
5208.
5208.
5,200.
So we'll leave $10.
Okay.
I think that's what we mostly do.
I think so,
anyway,
please.
Mhm.
As a placeholder.
Heating and electrical, I know you folks are looking at that at all the budgets, but I'm not recommending much of it. I would recommend maintaining it as it is myself. Whatever trends you're seeing for next year, but I think maintaining, I think it was a wise decision to do what you did with this budget.
No, I think the oil is good,
Mhm.
what you got.
Repairs, again, I think this is a line that can be dropped to a nominal amount, whatever amount you're willing to purchase the services to, I would.
So we'll move that to
To
$10 as well. So that's-
Telephone, you've been running pretty well there. When we went out, as I had mentioned before, we went out, God, I think it was maybe 3 years ago now. I hired a consultant to come in and review all of our phones and review all of our accounts. And the way the consultant got paid was they documented what they could save for us, and they got a third of the first year's savings. So I didn't have to pay anything to do it. And they saved us somewhere in the neighborhood of about $7,500. We had lines that the town wasn't using. We had contracts that had expired, and they reworked the account for us, the contracts. So that was a decent savings. So I think we could reduce that $6,000 to $5,500. And I think we would be fine. Postage, supplies, and capital outlay, I would keep as is. And if anyone's wondering what capital outlay is, that's what we're paying for usage on the copier machine.
It's terrible, you have to remind us every year.
No, well, when you do something once a year, it's, you don't always remember it. So I think we're good there. But as you can tell, Linda and I try to give this a good scrubbing and try to be as realistic as possible. So that would take us on to insurance, on to 194 in building insurance. And the numbers that we have here for the proposed budget are significantly higher than what you see here, because for whatever reason, and I have to say that when we did our presentation last year for this year's budget, somehow the accountant didn't transfer those numbers into the ledger. So what you're seeing there are actually older numbers and not what it should have been. For example, we haven't done the reserve transfer request.
Yeah, we have not.
We are budgeted for FY16 for commercial package, $31,554. The actual amount that we need is $34,287. So we will be making a transfer request for that. And also for commercial umbrella, what you see here is $4,505. We will actually need $4,814. So we will be looking for a transfer request for that. That being said, we have the actual figures in for FY17. And for commercial package, the figure is $43,956. And for commercial umbrella, it's $5,055. So if you look at what's actually in here for FY16 as opposed to what we need for FY17, I believe the overall difference is about $12,000, if I did that math correctly. And then $12,952.
The commercial package and commercial umbrella again. Should be.
What should be for 17 is 43,956, and the commercial umbrella is 5,055. And those are the actual numbers we have for Murphy's.
That's 49,011.
It is. Yes, it is.
So what's causing it to jump 30% a year?
Well, it didn't jump 30% a year. We didn't have, it's the way the insurance rates are running. I can't really give you the details as to what's behind all of the increases. Did you get any background from that?
No, I did not.
I don't think so.
Well, we haven't gotten any from you, so I'm sure, that means you didn't get any. Right, we get everything from you.
Mhm.
Okay, so that takes us down to 243, plumbing and gas, right?
195, town reports.
Town reports.
Oh, jump right over it.
Out of sequence. There we go.
I didn't help.
Thank you. Okay. So the town reports, we are running, well, we haven't done the town reports yet. They're being worked on now, so we haven't spent to that yet. But we're comfortable with the $3,000 and the $700 for postage, so we're saying we should remain flat for that. And then we get to the inspectors.
Yeah, it is the plumbing and wiring.
Plumbing and wiring, and it's flat year over year with, with the assumption that the COLA will be, they would be getting the COLA that everybody else would be getting, and the plug number for that's 2%, so, but we haven't, Nanachka hasn't added any of the COLA figures in yet. I've recommended that she does for your next report, so you can start to see what the figures are gonna look like with the 2% of that. Because historically, many times advisories waited to the end and then put them in. I think it gives you a more current picture if you have them in now.
So on these two, it looks like they're exactly 50%, or is this based purely on the, weeks per, hours per week they're working, times 26 weeks so far, and stuff like that? I don't quite. For,
Well, I mean, it's a salary that they're on.
so, I kind of figured that must be, but I guess I wonder why they're not either salaried or under wages or something as opposed to purchase services. Doesn't
Well,
matter.
they're not employees. Well, I mean, they're contracted employees, so.
Okay,
Okay, so that takes us to,
244, wiring inspector.
okay, I kind of lumped the two inspectors in together. So it would be the same there, they're flat, just their wages. So that takes us to 440, the sewer.
Which is good.
And that's also a good number. We had to tweak that a couple of years, but I think we're running at a good number now. That's the sewer maintenance facility over at the school. Town pays 15% of it, the school pays 85% of the expense, and we get a monthly invoice for it. And the way that we're running, that looks like a good number the way it is.
I remember a while back, we
Remember
had
we had to adjust it.
adjusted,
We did.
so that's good.
And next, where are we, 912? Workers' comp.
Workers' comp.
Can we discuss that? And it looks like we settled on 30,000 for that, right? Or do we?
30,666.
It's right here.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So, yeah, we
Yep.
can, yes, we can just stay with that. It's based on,
That's right.
so we can
Right.
give or take.
I mean, we could level fund it. It looks like the actual expense is 29.5, so if you wanted to reduce that by $1,000, we could do that.
We will.
Let's hear that.
That's why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to set example for the other departments. I come in here and recommend what you reduce, so. And that brings us to,
945, the other insurance.
oh yeah, that was the phone.
I'm sure that didn't go.
Oh, here's a,
Scare me.
yeah. All right, so 945, other insurance. We have the actual figures and going across by line item. For 5741 police professional liability, the actual figure is $6,067. For bonding, 5742, $720. 5744, police and fire accident, $40,401. Motor vehicle, 5745 is 18,889. 5746 deductible, we left at 2,000. And 5747 police official liability goes to $4,633 for a grand total of 72,000. Is that up? And that does that up. $72,660.
Any questions? Yes. Frank.
Are the policies bid annually?
They're not bid annually. I rebid them, I believe, 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. So I think a best business practice for something like that is probably every 3 to 5 years. And we did find that our previous carrier, Murphy's, still was the most competitive. So we stayed with Murphy's.
And then I just noticed the police, that looks like it, from a low of 2,500, it's up over 6,000. Is there a reason for that, or was there a claim?
I'm not, which line item are we looking at?
5741,
For, budget
945.
for 2015.
I don't know why there was a dip I don't remember why there was a dip that year.
That's only the budget, the actual.
That's right, it was the budget, it wasn't the actual, so that's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah, because the actual is pretty up to par.
The actuals.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why, I can't answer off the top of my head why that figure was done that way. Usually we just go with the figures they give us. So does anyone have any other questions?
Okay, so do I have a motion to pass lines 122, 123, 151, 192, 194, 195, 243, 244, 440, 912, and 945
As amended.
as amended? Yes,
I
thank
so
you.
move.
I'll second that.
Then we also have the 916, then we have the holiday.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No,
Aye.
I didn't mention we were gonna go.
Disapprove, no?
There was one more.
Okay, all those passed. I'm talking
I
about
don't know, 'cause I
another
think
one.
we
Oh,
said,
okay.
Okay.
I do think.
That's it?
got all the numbers.
Okay.
I made the
You made the
motion.
motion, Craig? Seconded. Oh, did you write it all
I
down
did.
too?
Oh,
So I'm gonna have to, great.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good, and you changed all of
Thank you,
that?
I'll write it up to give to them.
Okay, thank you. On all of them?
Yes, up to now. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so did I.
Now, we're a little ahead of
Great, we are.
ourselves.
Wow.
So, maybe we
But
can
that's
interview
okay.
Ken now. He's here.
Yeah. It's my pleasure.
Yes.
To call Ken Troop up. And, hi, how are you? And just so everyone who's watching knows, Ken Troop has an interest in rejoining the advisory board.
I'm not rejoining.
Have you ever been on it? Never?
Never.
Wow. So we have a past selectman of many years wanting to
I
join
used to fight them for years.
the advisory.
But I've never been on it.
Keeps them sharp. Yeah, well, why don't you tell us some about your past as a selectman and some of the other wonderful things you've done in Boulder?
I started as selectman in 1982, and served for 15 years, and then took a year off, and then served for 2 more. So I retired in 2010. During that time, I guess kind of as a sidelight to that, I was involved with the formation of the cadet EMT program at the high school, and helped put together the advisory board there that kind of oversees what was going on, and it was through that that we created the position of the coordinator that Ann Farrell holds. And that was originally funded out of the selectmen's account and then later shifted into the ambulance account. And that committee is still, program of course, is still going and going strong. And that advisory committee is still going and going strong. I'm still on it. So that's one of the things that kind of continued over the years. And then after I retired as selectman, my arm was twisted to get involved with Bolton Access TV, and so I'm still working on that, keeping that up and running and that kind of thing. So those are the main things that I've done, and just help out where I can on various things. I'm involved right now on the steering committee of the town common. And then because of the role that I had at the TV station, I ended up being on the cable committee that negotiated with Comcast. And so that was a town-appointed position to do that. So I kind of serving now as the person. If people are upset with Comcast, then they can talk to me. It doesn't solve their problem, but I can at least facilitate some of the interactions that they would have. And in fact, one of the things the selectmen are going to be doing on Thursday is requesting that Charter provide service to another house on West Berlin Road. And that kind of went through my role as the cable committee to work with Charter on that. So we thought it was unique when 256 West Berlin Road needed the service and was provided, then a house was built beside it and they wanted the same thing. So it turned out it wasn't unique, but we went through the same procedure to do that. So those are the things that I've done in that.
Are you from Bolton originally?
No, I've lived here for 40 years, but no, I'm not from here.
That's a long time. Any questions for Ken?
I guess one question I would have for Ken is why have you decided after all these years in so many positions and often being at loggerheads with this committee, have you decided to join us or are seeking to join us?
Well, I figured that you'd ask that, and so one of the answers that I'll give is that after I was defeated in the election in November, several people came up to me afterwards and said, "Oh, what are you going to do with all your spare time now?" So I figure I
Do
can
you have any?
help you with that. Well, there is that. Not really, but I knew there were vacancies. I knew Craig came on. I think that's great to have new people involved. If there was a big line of new people, then I probably wouldn't have offered. But I figured with your being in the middle of the budget year that it's better to have a full board than not, and it would be better to have somebody that already understood the process, and I do, and so that's why I figured I was willing to do that. So it's really to lend a hand to everybody in that, and to help out where I can on that. And the fact that I do have a pretty good working understanding of the budget and of the financial side of things, I thought might be a benefit to you. So that's principally it.
Any other questions?
I'm fine.
Okay. Okay. Well, I would entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Ken Troop for the Advisory Board, member of the Advisory Board.
I so move.
Second.
You got it.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. You are a member of the advisory board. Because I know you know what to
Doesn't
do,
he have to be
you have to
approved by
get
the,
sworn
Is
in.
the,
you have to be, does he have to be approved?
Yeah,
by the
sworn in.
nomination?
no, because,
No.
because you,
No.
because you,
Yeah.
you do the appointment.
Yes.
How long is the term, I guess, is a question. Does it,
Oh, I don't know.
does it have to be
That's a
reappointed
good-
in June or not?
That's a
Yes.
good question. I
It's up
think
to the-
you are,
I
So the
believe,
caucus committee would do it?
if I remember from last year, you guys get to nominate him through the end of
term. Okay.
well, no, through, I think it's
Well-
through
Right,
June,
right,
and
that's what I
then,
meant, till
then the
June.
nominating committee
Right,
reviews
right.
and
oh, they
Okay.
do?
appoints
Because
them
I
through
don't know.
So this is to fill Bill Burns.
Doesn't matter.
Apparently.
Okay.
It's to fill the rest of the year for.
Right.
Yeah, this is, advisory has this weird ability to appoint their own members to get them through the budget cycle, basically, and then,
Oh,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Yeah, you,
Yeah, well, it's to
Yeah.
maintain the independence.
well, I also thought that if you were seated for someone else who departed, then you only fill that term, and then you were,
No, then it goes back to
okay.
nomination.
They can,
Committee.
they'll
Yeah.
certainly tell me.
I can't answer that.
They'll certainly
Thank you.
tell me.
Well, at least
I'm just
to
curious.
June.
Yeah.
At least
At least to June.
You're stuck till June.
well, so you can enjoy
Yeah, that's right, we'll see how.
these wonderful days.
And then I know you can get sworn in
Right.
before next
Okay.
meeting and be a part of
Okay,
it.
and I would like, yeah, and I'll talk with Linda about schedule and other things of that sort, as to when you're,
Jan,
you know,
an
when,
extra one.
I assume you're meeting weekly at the moment?
We are
Yes.
meeting every Tuesday at 7 PM right now, and of course, we will be joining the selectmen for some of their meetings towards the,
Right,
closer to the town meeting,
right.
we usually do. But
Okay.
we've been real privileged this year, we've had them in every meeting.
And I think it's been
Really wonderful.
very helpful.
We thank you for that, because I know how time consuming it is, very much.
All right,
And thank you
I
very
will
much.
see you next week.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, it's been a while, a long time. So, we really don't have any other business to discuss, actually. We're going to table,
We're gonna table the Pareto diagram
because you'd like
discussion.
to discuss it in Brad's presence. You're fine.
We did raise the question last week about the cost of Assabet versus Minuteman. That was a good question from Dave. And the research to date, we think we have all the right numbers, says that Minuteman costs about $33,000, no, it's $16,000 a student per year. Maybe it's $16,500.
Do you mean?
And
Per semester or per year?
see, we had two people at 16,500
You mean
something.
This is
So
an
Assabet, yeah,
Assabet.
Assabet at 16,500, and Minuteman at roughly 25,000, or if you dial in some other assessments, 29,000.
I think we pay 29,000 a year.
So it's 29 versus 16,500.
And
So,
plus transportation on the 16.5, but that's not gonna be anything like the difference between those two figures.
so
So
there's
the
no cost
message,
to the town if somebody opts out and wants to go to Assabet. That's the
But then there's a waiting list, right?
no, I don't think we
More
should
than likely.
push anyone not to go to Minuteman. But there was some sentiment here when we saw those as figures from Assabet to try to discourage people
Right.
from, yeah.
Well,
So we don't want to discourage anybody from opting out because there is no more expensive school
this is
anyone
nothing
can
new,
go to
though.
than Minuteman.
Dave, I mean, we've been having the same discussion now for 4 years running, probably, with Minuteman versus Assabet. And there's,
Well, I don't think, this is the first time I think the issue has been raised about which
This
costs.
is the first time I think we've asked,
oh
we've,
no,
this is the first time we
because I
actually
had
asked. the
figures,
school district.
when Randy was on the board, we had figures.
Well, it
I
came up- it
remember
came up
wondering,
this
because
year,
it was
actually.
new to me as to why we didn't go to Assabet as to Minuteman.
Oh, well, we
Because we
can't,
had- we had no
And I know,
we can't.
I know, but that was why,
but our students can individually select it.
only,
Not-
only if they don't offer it
Yeah.
at Minuteman.
Oh, right, only if the program isn't offered
Yeah,
at Minuteman
right.
can they?
Well-
And I think that.
Which and I'm not sure how this one slips through.
Yeah, this is kind of.
Discretion there too.
Unless the culinary program at Minuteman is full and they were able to get a
Right.
slot at Aspen or something, but, you know.
But maybe we shouldn't ask the question, maybe we should make Minuteman ask the question.
Well, it also has to go through the approval of the principal too, doesn't it? I mean, it's not just
Through the high
the
school,
student,
the
yeah,
Neshoba
yeah,
principal.
the
Right.
Neshoba
It's
principal.
the principal or the superintendent?
It's the superintendent.
The superintendent,
Yeah.
yeah, superintendent,
Our superintendent
That's it.
approves. Okay, I thought it was just
The move,
the principal.
right.
Okay.
yeah, I did too, but they're right, superintendent. So, and that was Michael before he left.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions?
Good.
Well, we're done. A motion to close the meeting,
Adjourn.
adjourn. I could not think of the word, it was there, the tip of my tongue.
I so move.
Thank you. Any
Second.
seconds? Meeting, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.